You've got to move. You've got to move. You've got to move. Oh, got to move. Tasha, thank you so much for joining us here. Personally, I remember hearing you at Greater Mitchell Temple, I believe, in Detroit years and years ago.
Yes, many years ago.
Many years ago. And me being a student and a graduate of Howard University, I would listen to your mother's group, Witness.
Yes.
You sang with Witness, but your mother still is one of my favorite vocalists and artists, Lisa Page Brooks. But it's amazing. How did it feel, somewhat coming out of the shadows, growing up in Detroit with so many great artists, Vanessa Bell Armstrong, the Winans, the Clark sisters, and I think you all were even at the same church. There's a couple of recordings with your mother and Karen Clark.
About 7 years, we were members of Grady Emmanuel.
That is amazing.
So growing up just in Detroit, you always had to stay ready. My mom used to always say, when you're sitting in services, don't just sit and just be oblivious to what's going on. Always when you're listening to whoever's up singing or whatever song is being played or ministered, always think what you would do on that song, because a microphone could be handed to you at any moment. So I always stayed like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, what if? And because they do mic tosses all the time.
All the time.
You know, Baylor Cathedral, that whole scene was at any moment, you know, James Moore, Vanessa Bell Armstrong, like you said, the Clark sisters, Commission, Witness, the Clarks, I mean, all of them. They were like auntie, uncle to me. So just growing up with that type of precedence and example, it really pushed us, it taught us, and they set a high standard. So I'm grateful for where I come from.
But for you, you are a person who has launched forward with a very unique trajectory. I don't really see you as a person who only resides in the box of gospel. Your mother is a great singer. I know there must have been maybe some pressure following in her footsteps, but I remember when my mentor, Aretha Franklin, passed, I was there in Detroit preparing for the funeral. You were doing a tribute to her.
Yeah.
You do all styles of music. You express your gifts no matter what people may ask of you. But even you've worked with the great Tyler Perry, and you've had a chance to travel with him on the road. Like, how does that feel with the pressure of people asking you to step in and honor people like an Aretha Franklin, but also just your mom? I mean, watching you on Sunday Best, the mic toss, when they pass the mic to you, you've never missed. I remember watching you in Baltimore or Maryland, sitting there on the second row at Jason Nelson's recording. And when he passed the mic to you, you just sat there very unassuming. And when you grabbed the mic, it was a sincere moment from your heart, from your spirit, but you're always prepared. I mean, how do you deal with the pressure of having to just step in and just, is it natural? Is it innate? I mean, can you tell us about
my
that?
nerves are always like on 1,000. But when it's what you've been called to do, it just comes naturally. It's easy. It doesn't feel like work because it's what we love to do. So, you know, before I sing the first couple of notes, it's like the nervousness is crazy. And then once I'm in it, it's like, let's go. I'm zoned out. But there was a lot of pressure coming from a music family. You know, my stepdad was with Commission, one of the founding members.
Producer.
And then with my mom, being with Witness and an award-winning singer herself who's still singing. So it's not like, you know, I'm just taking over where she left off. She's still like booked and singing places and stuff. So it's like, oh Lord. And then they always ask me to sing with her. And so if you look back at some of the clips, her and I singing together, I'm missing cues and everything because I'm watching her. I'm always a student. Mm-hmm. When I'm with her and when I'm on stage with her, I'm always a student. And it will forever be that way because I understand where the gift comes from. And so I always honor my mom. So thank you for even involving her and bringing her up in this conversation. But it was a lot of pressure from the church. I had a little bit of backlash. You know, you're singing secular music and you're talking about men and love and this. And I'm like, God is love. You know what I mean? I think the church has done a great job at getting us to the altar, but the aftercare, it hasn't been good. The follow-up plan. You know, we deal with different things in life, and you're going to have breakups. You're going to have heartache. Someone is going to break your heart one day. And how do you deal with that? How do you walk through that? And so I think all the music that speaks to everyday life is a necessity to the believer as well.
That's a perfect segue, and you're right about that. And I believe that's why people like yourself have been brought to the forefront because you can be an example and an ensample to other people to let them know that life will happen, but through the music, it becomes ameliorating, it becomes healing, it becomes the buoyant thing that keeps you afloat when life tries to pull you down and pull you under. You mentioned something about being a student, and I think that was very astute, because I've noticed something about you. You never miss. I've never seen you miss a run, a riff. You're always prepared. You're always seemingly in perfect vocal health. And another thing that I've noticed is that you walk cloaked with humility. And that's something that I think is honorable. As an artist, what types of things do you do to make sure, we know, like, speaking to people and things like that. And it's interesting because this is our very first time working together.
Yes.
But you and I have been around each other a lot of times, backstage, on stage, in
Church
recordings,
services,
just speaking, church services, everything, in the back office, just saying hello. And if we had, unfortunately, looked at each other the wrong way or did something that was confusing, we may not be here today on this stage. But can you tell those that are watching, people who are watching, as an artist, how you keep yourself? Because we get tired on the road. We have real life issues, like you said.
Right.
But as a student, you're constantly studying. You're probably now getting your 3rd or 4th doctorate in artistry. How do you manage life? Your husband is a pastor of a church. Like you said, you have other family members. You're an artist. You work with other people. You collaborate. But how do you keep yourself at 100%? How do you keep your voice flawless the way it always is? How do you keep yourself when people aren't looking, when the other phone cameras are looking, where your countenance is always welcoming and inviting and kind? How do you do that as a student, as an artist?
Well, I appreciate all of the kind words that you just said, but I do miss sometimes. I'm not always in 100% excellent vocal, health. And, I'm just grateful that those times when I did miss didn't go viral. You know what I mean? It's just, I always said that we're one mishap away from a headline. It's like, it's just God's grace. It's just the grace of God and His mercy and His kindness towards us. Always being prepared for what I'm doing and always trying to, I did a conference with Tone B. Slade, and he said, I wonder why people would say, what did he say? He said something about practice. He said, what he said was, perfect practice makes perfect. Perfect practice. If you practice to make sure that what you're doing is as close to perfection as possible, even if you veer off, even if you go into a flow, as we like to say in the Christian world, even if you go into a flow, or if it's like a spontaneous thing that we do, or a reprise, or whatever it is, you're still prepared for what it could be. So perfect practice makes perfect, not just, leaning on your ability alone, really honing in. And I also do something, I have 2 playlists in my phone. I have a list of music that I study, and then I have a list of music that I just like. And sometimes it may cross, but for the most part, a lot of the music that I study, it may not be my preference. But I'm honing into the times. I'm honing into people that were great that came before me. Because if they were iconic, if they were great, they had to have something that set them apart. And so I want to study that, because I believe that God has called me to be great as well. So I think that's important to any musician, producer, songwriter, singer. Have music that you study, aside from music that you just listen to.
And you definitely embody that greatness by the professionalism that you walk with. And again, I'm so honored that you were able to be here with us. I'm grateful. The entire crew is grateful. I have a phenomenal group of artists that, for some reason, they will allow me to work with them, and you're one of those artists, just as all of my singers that are here on stage with us, the musicians, all of them are artists in their own right. They all have their own projects. They all work with other people. And it's an honor for us working with you here today. And I'm saying this publicly because we've worked with a lot of people, and it's very refreshing to work with another artist. And there was just great rapport immediately when we saw you, when we rehearsed, when we walked on stage together. But can you leave a lasting impression to people like ourselves, creatives, savants, aspiring artists, young people, even if they may not want to do gospel music, because you are so much outside of gospel music. You are really a diva. We're looking for great things from you, but could you say something to a student out there, to a young girl, or maybe a young guy, or anyone, or maybe someone who's not so young that has a dream, that has a passion, and maybe they're not there yet? Can you just give them a word of encouragement so that they will not give up, but at the same time that they'll be able to make sure they hone in on what they need to reach their expected place of destiny?
Well, first, I would say learn how to talk like Damien and use words like savants. Savants. No, I'm just kidding. Be yourself. You know, be yourself. It was tough for me to find who I am. Who is Tasha, aside from my mother, aside from my father, aside from my grandfather, who traveled with Berry Gordy. He's on the wall in the Motown Museum.
Wow.
He was with a group called the Monitors.
Hitsville,
USA. Yeah. So to have all of that rich heritage in music in my family, it's like, who am I? How do I balance the R&B world from the gospel? How do I not abandon that side of me, because it's in me? And I love to sing all types of music: jazz, classical. You know, I won solo and ensemble competitions in all throughout high school, singing in different languages and all of that. And so how do I be authentic and be myself without making somebody else mad, without offending someone else that has an opinion? You know, and I just got to a point where I said, I don't care. I'm just going to be myself, and that's what I would offer to any aspiring artist, producer, singer, anybody that wants to do anything creatively. I would say to just be yourself. You're not going to win everyone, but you have a massive amount of people who are going to love you. And until you begin to hone into who you really are, you'll never find your true tribe.
For all of the viewers, for all of the people that are tuned in, watching and listening, you have a song that you wrote. You're not only a singer, but you also are a composer and a writer. What made you write this song, and what does it mean? What message are you trying to convey?
Well, the song Why Not Me was released in 2020, February 28th, 2020. And it was a song that is really, it's my life story in my words. The first song that I did that was introduced publicly and nationally, coming off of Sunday Best, was a song called Different, which was my story in Kirk Franklin's words. But this song, Why Not Me, tells my story in my words. And being a person who has overcome drug addiction, molestation, rape, homelessness, physical abuse, mental, had a nervous breakdown before, all of those things that that some people never made it back from, some people died from. To be able to overcome those things, sometimes you can grow up with a bitterness. You can grow up with a pointing the finger or placing the blame and always saying, well, why me? Why did this happen to me? Why did my parents do this? Why did this person do that? Or why was my mother on the road so much? And I missed time with her. And maybe because she wasn't there, that's why I was with that babysitter that touched me in that way. Or, you know, why did I have to get pregnant and drop out of school in my 12th grade year? And why did I have to have a baby at 17? And, you know, you have all of these questions in your mind of why me? And so I was in the studio one day, and all I heard was, why not you? You're the perfect person to go through this storm. It won't break you. It won't kill you. You'll go on. And you'll come out even better than before, and you'll never see this place anymore. And so that line, you'll never see this place anymore, is very significant, because sometimes we live our lives in cycles. And so I kept saying, I don't want to continue to go through the same things I'm going through now. But if you live through it and learn from it, you don't have to repeat it. So Why Not Me is my testimony.
We're looking forward to it. Tasha, thank you for your transparency, your testimony, and your story. And thank you again for joining us.
I'm grateful to be here.
You may be high, you may be high, you may be low,